Hello and welcome to the Literary Bar. How you doing? I hope you still remember that 2025 is a year to thrive and not merely to survive. It's just to celebrate every day in big or tiny ways. Look at your environment with new eyes and you just might notice something pleasant. As April is wrapping up, the earth is awash with rainwater, turning grasses green with the promise of a bountiful harvest to come. Speaking of thriving, my guest today is an exceptional person. He's talented, creative, and simply amazing. A trifecta that is so endearing to me. Get ready for some excitement after the break. See you. There's something celebratory to round up April, and that is International Jazz Day on the 30th of April, founded by the famous jazz musician Herbie Hancock in conjunction with UNESCO. Jazz is a genre of music that is smooth, soothing, and sassy. Originating from African slaves to the Western world, made popular by African-American musicians in the 1920s, Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, just to name a few. Over the years, jazz has expanded to include fusion music, embracing different peoples and cultures so that it remains evergreen and fresh all at once. This year's theme is embodying the power of jazz to unite in our shared humanity. My guest today is knowledgeable in all things jazz. He even created a whole veil just for jazz. The way I'm dressed, I'm all jazzed up. Muyiwa Nwagha is an art graduate of the University of Lagos. He's worked in advertising and marketing. In 1990, he founded the celebrity hangout known as Jazzville, a melting pot for entertainment and culture. Our own Fela Nicolas Bokuti and his son Femi were some of the regulars there. He's managed and promoted some of our musical talent and even discovered Asha. One of the most amazing things about as his friends call him, is his immeasurable love and support for his son BJ, who lives with Down syndrome. BJ is also a musical genius in his own right, and I say so. As a trained experiential learning facilitator, Muyiwa volunteers at CDC, encouraging young adults in music appreciation and therapy. Majek loves promoting the gospel and wants to live out his life glorifying God. He captures all of this in his soon-to-be-published memoir, Odyssey. Welcome, Muyiwa Nwagha, or Majek.
Majek.
All of them.
Thank you so much. Great
How
to
are
be
you?
here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I
haven't done this in a long time.
But it's in you. So I'm really, really happy that you are here, especially to celebrate the International Jazz Day. I mean, Jazzville. As a UNILAG student, I visited that side.
You snuck in, eh?
Yes, I visited that side. Mama doesn't know that. But it was, like you said, it's a melting pot for culture, and all sorts of artists got their breakthroughs.
Right. Comedians, musicians,
you created a platform.
Poets, literary personalities too, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
So let me even start from the beginning. What exactly is jazz? Or jazz music?
I can't tell you what it is. I have to show you what it is.
Okay.
You have to play. It's like falling in love. You don't even know what it is until you fall into it.
You know, Duke Ellington said something like that. He said, if you have to explain it, then you don't know what it is. But you will know it. Yes, yes.
I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's just there. It's a combination of it's a combination of it's from the heart. It comes from the heart. It's a crisscross of rhythms, you know, polyrhythmic structures. It's improvisation. It's heart music, really more heart music than head music. So for me to tell you what jazz is, I cannot tell you what it is.
So what led to Jazzville?
What led to Jazzville? Good question. I've been influenced. Growing up, I was influenced by people like Atalade, on Babbitt Show and things like that. Then, of course, people like Tunde Kuboyi of Jazz 38.
Yeah. And his wife, Fran. Don't forget
and his
Fran.
wife, Fran. And then I used to hang around a lot with the late Steve Steve Rhodes. But my primary foundation in music was my father, who was a diplomat. He loved jazz. I grew up on Nat King Cole. Not knowing that subtle influences would affect me in such a way that I would set up my own club. But Art Alade had his own place, Arts Place. Incidentally, I met my wife there at Arts Place. But it never crossed my mind I would set up a place until 1987 or 88, when I really got tired of clubs, nightclubs. And I said one day, because in those days you go to a certain place and they tell you had to dress in a certain way, you need to be well dressed. So I said one day I'll set up a club in which well dressed persons are not allowed.
That's a rebel.
Yeah, yes, I'm ridiculous. I said, well, just person, and I wanted a place where people could be themselves, unpretentious, just come in whatever you feel like coming in, and then like home away from home. And it started as a joke, and it was meant to be music on tapes. I wasn't even thinking of live music initially, but from day one, right from the first day, unplanned. It was live music all the way till it closed down in 2001.
That's sad. But whilst there, I mean, some notable names. I mean, Fela was there.
Fela came in much later.
Okay.
Came in, I think that was 93, but Femi Kuti started off with me.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Femi Kuti loaned me his drum set. His drum set was new for about 3 years before he asked for it back. Femi Kuti, Tunde Ajide, Dudu, Nigerian Navy band were regulars, courtesy of Captain Wole, late Captain Wole, Captain Wole Bucknor. The Afro Jazz band of the Nigerian Navy were there. I had old men like the president then of the jazz club, Chief Taiwo Okupe, Captain, I forgot his name now, the bass player. He was a member of the Navy himself. He worked with the Navy. They were regulars. Tunde Wumi Obey, the Excite Band, Wale Aboderi, his brother Jaya Aboderi, and so many others were part of it. It wasn't just jazz; it was an eclectic, set of music that was performed.
So what does jazz actually mean to the world right now? Because if it's a fusion of this and that, what are different people bringing, to make this music that keeps refreshing itself all the time?
You see, jazz itself is like a sponge.
Okay.
It's eclectic. It picks up nuances. I mean, it picked it up from the African crisscross rhythms, from Africa. So people like Herbie Hancock, who was probably the ambassador for the for UNESCO. He's experimented with various musical forms, and as a jazz artist, you see, whether you like it or not, there's certain songs you hear which you pick up, and they influence you indirect. Sometimes it's an unconscious response to even the sound of the bees, sound of the birds, sound of children playing in the park. These things tend to influence you one way or the other. So jazz itself is, like I said, it's a sponge. It absorbs the energies of the players. It absorbs the energy of the audience itself. It's like each player is telling a little story. That's where improvisations come in. It starts with a basic theme, and everybody tends to build on it.
Wow. I mean, even when as you're describing it now, it almost sounds musical.
I haven't done this in years. It sounds strange for me talking about. I haven't done this like in almost 25 years.
Wow.
I used to play the piano, but right now it's like my fingers have. They refuse to.
Once you have it in you, I'm sure by the time you you have the memory, the muscle memory would be there.
You see, what happens if you don't practice, you're as good as as you were 25 years ago. If you haven't picked up the piano in 25 years, there's a tendency that you've lost a lot of your flexibility.
So, because of your musicality, and then, of course, your background is in arts, and you do so much without, you're being humble about it, but you used to play with ambassadors, you used to do some stuff in embassies and stuff like that.
Yes, that's
and all of this you're putting together in your forthcoming memoir, your Odyssey.
The Odyssey, yes.
What is that about?
The Odyssey, of course, is the title taken off from the Greek.
Homer's
Odyssey.
Yeah.
And it talks about my personal journey from, I don't want to use dark to light, but it's the journey from what I was doing, from Jazzville you see, when I was in the world.
Okay. Are you on Mars now?
Am I what? When I was
Mars?
When I was in the world, as a non-Christian, and the world was in me, I realized I did a lot of things I shouldn't have done. I lived there.
Can you give us?
I dare not. You see, confession may be good for the
sober, not for TV.
Bad for the reputation. But I did a lot of things I shouldn't have done, and even though
is there something that stands out that we can consume publicly that someone can learn from?
You read about it in the book. It's better for you to read about it in the book. You see, we did things I did things that didn't glorify God.
Amen.
I did things that didn't glorify God. Have you heard of the unholy trinity?
Yes, wine, women, and weed.
Did I tell you that? That's copyright.
No, it's public knowledge.
But I did things I really shouldn't have done until one day I just realized that I was going on a trajectory that would take me into places I didn't want to go eternally. And I heard the voice telling me, son, it's time to get your act right and get back on track. And I heard that voice in 2001, which led to the final closure of Jazzville.
But jazz in itself, it's not something that will lead you down the wrong path. It's some of the things.
It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
It's a lifestyle. But even then,
because there's some musicians who don't imbibe alcohol or weed, and
they don't know
celebrate
they didn't know what they were missing. I'm just joking.
Oh God, you didn't hear him say that.
I'm just joking. But I just knew that it was time to go.
Time to let that go.
It was time to let that lifestyle go. And I went through a period where I had to dissociate myself. It's a learning curve, it's a detoxification process. You need to detoxify yourself before you now decide where you want to go. So I had to let everything go. Otherwise, I may not have been here talking to you today. But sometimes
you found God, and
I found God. God found me.
God found you.
God found me.
You allowed God to find you, because God is looking for all of us all the time, but some of us don't listen.
Yeah,
we're not ready to hear.
We're not listening to you. We're not ready to hear. But I thank God I heard. I denied it. I rejected it at first, and there were consequences for it. I'll give you a little example. For 11 years when I ran jazz, I had no problems. Until one afternoon, there was a fight that broke out. And I've been hearing this voice saying, son, shut this place down. Shut this place down. Shut it down. And I didn't listen. Until one day, fight broke out. Okay, I didn't pay heed to that. Second day, fight broke out. The third time it happened, somebody's head was split open. Yes.
He survived, I hope.
He survived it, yes. But during the day, not even on a Friday night. And that was when I knew that it was time to let this lifestyle go. And I did. In fact, the week I decided that I was shutting down, that was 2001, November, I made close to $500,000 from selling beer. It has never happened before.
Wow.
It has never happened before.
Was fighting for
you understand the story. 11 years, I've never made that kind of money in 2 months or 3 months. No, I wasn't making money, but it was like temptation. But I knew that if I continued, I'd bid for it.
But your experience, negative as it was, doesn't take away from the pleasure that is in jazz music.
No, of course not.
Okay, you just wanted to put that
you're right. It's not the music per se as much as the lifestyle that went around it, the unholy trinity and things like that.
The unholy trinity, wine, women, and weed. If you were a woman running jazz club, what would the unholy trinity be?
You'll have to ask the woman.
Because it's the weed and the wine to not be
whatever it was.
Whatever. Okay. But part of your Odyssey and even part of all this, I mentioned that there's something amazing about you, and that I anchor on this amazing, incredibly loving relationship between you and BJ.
My son.
Yes.
In whom I'm well pleased.
Yes.
Sometimes.
BJ is a delight. I mean,
Yeah.
I met both of you at the event, Tony's event, Six
Yes.
Spaces, and it's just a delight. But we can't take away from the fact that BJ is living with Down syndrome.
Yes.
And I want to know how did you and your family, by extension, how did you deal with that? Because BJ is your first son.
Yes, it's my first son. How did I deal with it? You know,
First of all, what is Down syndrome?
It's a developmental disorder caused by an additional chromosome. It's a chromosomal
24.
Yeah, 23.
23, yeah.
Each partner contributes 23 chromosomes, 23 from the father, 23 from the mother. But somewhere along the line, there's an additional chromosome that just pops up.
Yeah.
And that causes the general disability.
Anyway, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk about how even this jazz or music influenced BJ's trajectory. See you after the break. Welcome back. If you're just tuning to the Literary Bar, we're here with a very special, talented, and I said amazing human being. He was a jazz connoisseur. Yeah,
Was, yes.
Was, but the music is still in his system. Before we went on break, we're talking about his very loving and attached relationship to his son BJ, who's living with Down syndrome, but it doesn't take away from BJ's talents as a genius on the keyboard and on the drums.
Percussions, yes.
Percussions,
yes.
yes.
It's percussions.
Yes. So
then occasionally he sings,
I was, you mentioned that when your wife was pregnant with BJ, you used to attach
headphones to
headphones,
her.
yes.
Stomach, yeah.
So he was formed with music.
He was formed with music.
With
yes.
music.
With music, yes.
But when he arrived, yes, there was something
Different about him, yes.
How did you deal with that?
As I was saying, sometimes you because of the trauma you went through, sometimes you put this thing at the back of your head and you forget. But what I remember seeing, looking at him, was he looked different. I'd never heard about Down syndrome. I'd never heard about, I probably never used the word disability. I mean, I do, but he had...
He's 37 now.
He's 37 years old, thank God now, yes. But there was something different about him. His head wasn't steady. He had slanting eyes. He had a large forehead. It was then the Dr. Egejuru, who now told us that this is Down syndrome. In 1988, when he was born, there was nothing like internet. So I didn't know where to look for information or references. It was just played by ear. It was only many years later I come across Mrs. Moji of the Down Syndrome Foundation, and she put us. That's when I started knowing more and more about what the condition was. But from day one, I think we just took it as this was just a gift from God, and lived with it. But over the years, we didn't realize the implications in terms of the stigmatization that he would face because of this condition, and the societal ignorance and how to treat people like this. So we had to learn by
What's one of the craziest things you've ever heard, people saying about Down syndrome?
That they're morons, what's the word, Mongols or something like that. That was the original name for them. And they were looked down on society. I'm put into special homes. I was in England, but in Nigeria, and it caused so much discontent within families. The husbands were suspicious of the wives that it's your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, somebody in the village was doing, there was a lot of ignorance. Some, of course, attributed to spiritual attacks. But I put all these things behind me. This was a gift from God Almighty, and I had to, up to now, still accept it without any qualms on my part.
When did you realize that he had a talent for music?
I can't remember, but one thing, BJ never crawled.
Oh.
He never ever crawled. All I saw was one day he just got up and started walking. Music, he's been exposed to music in the belly, he's been exposed to music at home, so it was there in his face. And I think one day he kept on, there was some music playing in the house, and he kept on, tapping to it in rhythm, uncanny. So I bought him a set of percussion instruments, and he kept him.
You took it from there, and now he plays.
He plays, yes.
Professionally.
He's played with jammed with his big his grandmother or his aunt, Latoya Ekemode, late OJ's wife.
Okay.
She encourages him. He's played with friends like Shewon Olota or Edaoto. He's performed with Orlando Julius. He's performed with quite a number of other people, not Femi Kuti. In fact, I spoke to Made Kuti the other day, 2 days ago, last week at Jimmy's party. I said, look, Made, I would like BD to perform with you.
Yeah.
So he also performs regularly with a guy called Shegun Adifila of Crown Troop of Africa.
Yeah.
So he's exposed, he earns income from that, and it gives him a sense of purpose,
Okay, we just took a little listen to the talent that is BJ.
That's what he loves to do. In fact, about 3 years ago, a friend of mine, something of djembe drums from somebody I mentored too, who's now in the US, Iroko Samson, sent him djembe as part of his collection of musical instruments. Yeah.
So their parents now wondering, what do they do with a child that is living with some level of disability, who is different? Even listening to you at Safe Spaces, you said something like, deal with your reality and train the child according to what they can do.
That's right.
Don't foist your dreams
on them.
That's right. And that way you get so disappointed.
That's right.
BJ, you said, has a mental capacity of a 5-year-old.
Yes.
At 37.
Yeah, 37.
But it doesn't take away from his talent.
No, it doesn't.
And he gets paid.
He gets paid, yes. He gets
Amazing.
Paid. He gets paid, yes.
Yeah.
If you take that away from him, he gets very upset, because he loves going to, there's a place he plays at regularly, on the island. And that's his home. That's his second home. That's his second home, apart from our good friend, Silo.
Silo's place. But how have you been able to deal with that? And then you have other children.
Yes.
How do they cope knowing that their oldest brother might never provide that guidance, senior brother,
yes,
whatever. But he's leading the family in love.
In love, yes, that's right.
Yes. So, but the other one, they can't go to him and say, oh, BJ can we do this? I have this issue with this babe. He might not help in that way.
No.
But how have you been able to balance it in raising other kids?
Well, we show by example. He's number one. He has a sister following, and then another brother, two other brothers after him. The older sister has taken the place of the his place, but she also realized she's not here. She's in the US right at the moment, but she realizes the importance of setting a good example for BJ too. I've taught them, not necessarily verbally, but by showing that BJ is different. He needs a lot more care, a lot more attention, and it's passed down to them, so they know what to do. I mean, I know he has his other brother. Sometimes he and his other brother Lumuyiwa, that's one after tend to come to but it's all in love, but I've taught them to love him as accept him as he is. If they don't accept him as he is, then don't expect society
to accept him.
So they learn to live with it.
So now that we're talking about the power of music, if you had not developed that talent, or you encouraged him to harness his musical talent, what do you think would become of him as it is?
I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about, but the fact is, God has put in each and every one of us something. I always say this: whatever test God gives you is for a purpose. And he's going to ask you when you're praying for him, what did you do with that challenge I gave you? I realized BJ was different. I decided to watch what he loved to do. What he likes to do is paint. He loves to draw. So if he wasn't doing music,
he'll be painting.
He'll be at least attempting to. Unfortunately, I couldn't get anybody to teach him, but he loves to scribble and things. And I still encourage him to scribble. So it's a question of, I allowed him to be whatever he could be. In fact, the house chores itself is an art form for him.
Right.
Cleaning the house, it's an extension of his personality. He takes it as a responsibility to ensure that the house is clean. He doesn't do it that well, but he does it.
Yeah.
And it gives him a sense of purpose. If you take that a little thing away from him, he will lose his sense of purpose. So no matter how badly or how well he does it, just let them be.
So I think the bottom line is just to encourage parents to actually look at their child and know what it is that they can help them.
Exactly.
I guess we're going to read all of this and more in the Odyssey when it comes out. And remember,
it's taken 8 years in the making. Believe you me, it's tough.
Here.
I hope so.
It will be here. We're all waiting.
I hope so.
To get on this journey with you and at least watch this journey that you're reaching. Your life is rich and very fulfilling.
Amen.
Yes. The talent, the music, the love, the family, and the friendship that you've made.
And the pain. The pain itself was a...
And the pain.
The pain, yes.
Yes, the pain. I mean, we have to learn
with the pain,
from the pain. Well, our time is always all too short. So maybe when you relaunch the music in another way, without the wine, the women, and the wine. Now we'll have the Holy Trinity. Now we'll have the Holy Trinity, the next one, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Muyiwa inside. So
I'm a work in progress.
We are all works in progress. So I want to say thank you, Muyiwa, for being here with us today.
Thank you too for having me.
And I really appreciate your time. You've really done a lot for the arts scene and music in particular. So accept our accolades and flowers from the Literary Bar.
Thank you.
And to you out there, you know that I love your company. Remember that the Literary Bar is always open. For more, please follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. You can watch us on DSTV channel 408 and on YouTube. Make your life a great story. My name is Chinedu.